Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. This is video 4 in our series of the keys to emotional healing, and today we're going to be talking about the brain science behind emotional wounds. So stick around if you want to learn a little bit more about what your brain goes through as you are dealing with a traumatic experience. As you know, we're going over this book, The Key. You can find it on Amazon. This is not sponsored. I just really believe in this message. The person who wrote it is a pastor I have dealt with personally. He has a lot of answers to why we are the way we are and how God designed us so that we don't have to stay there. Remember that we never have to stay where we feel stuck. A popular understanding of brain science is the left side is more logical and the right side of the brain is more emotional. But this is what scientists have to say. The left side comes up with explanations for everything experienced. So the left side is actually doing work trying to understand why we're experiencing what we're experiencing. It's really an interpreter. This interpreter decides whether something is good or bad. It judges what is good equals pleasure and what is bad equals pain. That is how our brain is organically set up. So the right side of our brain goes through our brain files looking to see if we've ever experienced a similar circumstance before. If our current experience is matching up to anything remotely similar in our past, the right side of our brain will actually cause us to move towards something or away from what's happening. It is kind of instinctual. This is very interesting. It kind of explains our triggers. When the right side of your brain finds a file of a painful past event and it thinks about that, the pain you felt back then will inflame right now. If you're experiencing something in the now that reminds you of the past, your brain feels the pain of the past right there in the present. This is all happening beneath our conscious thought. Anything happening beneath our conscious thought cannot be stopped by our will. As much as we want to stop it, we actually can't stop it. Our brain is going in survival mode. It's kind of running off the tracks. This is fascinating. If the left side explanation doesn't match up with the right side experience, the brain will shut down. I want you to see this. Once Satan implants a lie, he reinforces that with more painful experiences. Let me share with you the lies that the enemy told me in my childhood. That I was too much, that what I had to say was unimportant, I was not valuable, I was not worth investing time or trouble in, I was stupid and defective, I was a hopeless case. I believed I was not worthy, I was dumb, and that belief was reinforced with actual experiences in my life. Deep in my body, in my spirit, that insecurity, that shame is something that's affected the way that I see my life, in my relationships, in my work environment. It's just affected my life in so many ways. I have to consciously acknowledge that. The only way to get past that is to address this is where the shame really entered into my life. I was always trying to prove my value. I feel like the constant ignoring and belittling always made me feel less than. I'm going to incorporate my testimony a little bit. A lot of you have already heard it. The bottom line is, when you are told that you're stupid and that you can't do things that most normal people can do, there's a part of you that goes into survival mode and you go, if this is all I have to work with, then I gotta use what I have. When I was younger, I had won some pageants, Miss Petite Illinois, Miss Teen Chicago. So I had that background of getting affirmation and worth and value with a title, being on stage and getting positive affirmations in that way. I wasn't feeling valued at home, yet I would get on stage and suddenly people thought it was valuable. When I had to decide what could I do for a living, somebody approached me about becoming a dancer. I was just struggling financially so much. I literally felt like I was going to be out on the street because my parents weren't able to financially support me. So I had to figure out really quickly, what could I do to make money now? I was working as a bagger at Jewel, bagging groceries, making minimum wage. So I knew I could not feed myself or do anything with that kind of pay. Stripping kind of came along, and I gotta tell you, the most addicting part about dancing, it was more than the money. I think it was the approval. My heart felt so beat down. I felt so below everybody else. But when I would go on stage, I was making big money. My parents were not wealthy, so everything cost a lot of money. And every time I had a need, there was a roll of the eye, a sigh, an absolute no, we can't afford it. I hadn't been invested in. When someone invested in me financially, like dancing, people were spending big money on me. It raised my self-worth and my value. Oh my gosh. All my life, I felt like I wasn't worth anything. And then I go into this workspace and people are literally putting their money where their mouth is. They're not just saying that I'm valuable. They're putting money down on that. That felt really good to me. There was something very comforting about that kind of affirmation. I'm sharing this with you because I believe toxic shame is one of the reasons why I was drawn to the industry. It wasn't like I was like, I'm dying to be a stripper. That never crossed my mind to do that kind of job, especially with the way that I was reared. But when survival mode kicked in for me and I felt that my family wasn't showing up for me, God wasn't showing up for me, I had to show up for me. The lie that I believed in my childhood was that if I was valuable or worthy, my parents would have put the effort and time to encourage me. A trigger is when someone lights the fuse that triggers the lie within you. Triggers are actually a gift because they offer an opportunity to reveal a lie that we're believing. When we get triggered, we can actually take that as a learning experience and go, whoa, 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 that was an overreaction. What am I believing? It might be a past belief that just comes up because something's triggering that. We cannot change an experiential lie by behavior modification, having understanding, or our own will. We can't just change things because we want to. This is interesting. How the brain works is that we actually have to override that lie with a truthful experience. This is because overriding with a truthful experience changes the lie permanently. I know that's a lot of words, so I just want to say that again. This is because the overriding truthful experience changes the lie permanently. A key reason you live in emotional pain is because of the lies that you believe. It's important to understand how your brain and body functions and understand how Satan sets you up to believe lies. And these lies cause you to be emotionally triggered over and over and over again. My parental figure wasn't able to be there for me in that emotional way. I have to let go of my expectation for them to show up. I have to show up for myself. I am going through the process of reparenting that inner child that was so wounded and believed that lie. My value came from how good I was at math. I have to build positive experiences around what God says my true value lies in and really put a lot more emphasis on that. I'm building up my self-worth on something that God says rather than an experience on the past. I can't change the past. Drop pushing through, drop trying to make it something different. I am going to be gentle and kind to myself. I'm going to speak to myself as if I'm a friend. And I would never, ever put anyone down because they weren't good at something. That just wouldn't even occur to me. So why am I doing that to myself? That's where we can reparent ourselves. I think it's very important to treat yourself with the compassion other people should have treated you with, because they might not ever have the capacity to say they're sorry or to change their ways. They're stuck, and that's okay. You can get yourself unstuck if you do the work that it takes to get unstuck. And that's what this channel's about. It's about empowering you to understand God is with you, but you got to show up for you too. You can't just pray and expect God to just miraculously show up. There is a partnership with the Lord. I'm excited to keep diving in deep on this incredible book. I am looking forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care.